Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I am here today with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo. And
you almost call me Karen?
I don't know what I was going to call you. I hadn't decided yet. We're two of the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thank you guys for being here and listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's topic.
How are you, Alex?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
What's new?
Well, I have a funny and appalling story for you today. I've been looking forward to telling this for a little bit, but you've been away. So Eric and I recently went to Ottawa to see a concert.
Yep.
And just before the concert, we stayed in a hotel kind of just outside the market. We figured we'd go in to get our food and then head over to the NAC for the concert itself. And long story short, we were eating fish tacos at this lovely restaurant, which I will not name because I still can speak highly of them. I bit into my fish taco and there was something extremely hard in there, and fish tacos are soft, so this was a little bit unnerving. And I ended up spitting out a bolt. There was a bolt in my fish tacos, like hardware.
I can't explain that one.
Actually, Eric did really quickly, and I was grateful for that because my stomach was just turning. And he's like, okay, this could have fallen out of a knife in the kitchen. This could have fallen out of like the deep frying basket, right?
Yeah, true.
And I was like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. And he's
like, how big are we talking?
Oh, like full on, wow. Regular size bolt, the proper head, like
wow.
And I was so grateful that I had ordered fish tacos because you're already kind of chewing gingerly, if that makes sense. You're not really like biting down, expecting your food to be tough.
Yeah.
So my teeth were fine. Everything was okay. The waiter or the server, pardon me, felt absolutely awful. But we handled it with class. So that was good.
That's crazy. I was hoping you were going to say a fishing lure.
You know what though, like, holy man, 1,000 thoughts went through my brain in like a matter of 2 seconds, thinking like what could possibly be between my teeth right now. And I was just so grateful it wasn't like the innards of a fish.
Yeah, sure. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad your teeth are okay.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
That's funny.
What do you have for us today?
What I want to talk about today is, and we've covered this in different kind of sections in the past, but I want to just talk about optimizing limited time. So I think most of our listeners probably have limited time. Most of us in 2022 have limited time, especially people who live in the GTA, I would say. GTA being like within a 4-hour radius of Toronto now. It's like the lifestyle that we've created. Yeah. But optimizing limited time for success in your health and fitness journey. So we've talked on a greater scale of like scheduling your whole day and prioritizing and all of that, but this is kind of like for the person who just doesn't feel like they have time to make this thing work for them. Cool?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. So what I'd like to, we'll talk a little bit about nutrition and fitness and probably dive into some other points of that too, but I'll start from a nutrition standpoint. So I think that first of all, this is totally achievable for anybody. I've seen some of the most busy, successful people in the world have health that all of us would strive to have from a physical standpoint anyways. So I think that this is achievable for everybody, but you need to figure out what that looks like for you and what that routine kind of looks like for you. Is there anything you want to start with before we take a dive into this?
Optimizing time in your health and fitness journey. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
For people who are on limited time, I'm not talking about like
Yeah.
the 20-year-old student that doesn't have a job, or that, you know what I mean?
Yep, that's fair.
Okay.
But even still, that could relate to them, right? If they're needing
Oh,
to
for
study,
some of them, for sure.
yeah, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't have a job for a reason because their full-time job is being a student.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about like the one that
Yeah,
like plays video games for like 8 hours a day.
yeah, or catches up on full seasons of things. That was me.
That was me at some point too.
The first thing that comes to mind is obviously nutrition, because if we can change that, we're setting ourselves up for good sleep. We're setting ourselves up for good brain power, which allows us to think critically, regulate emotions. If you're not feeding yourself well, every system is thrown out of whack. So when I think about how to help yourself in terms of time for your nutrition, having things prepped, having things cut up and ready. And I mean, people hear us say this a million times. It just is that true, right? And it's never going to get old. If you have the time to meal prep, that is going to be the lifesaver and the time saver for the rest of the week or the rest of the day, either or. And if you don't have that time, then prioritizing your budget to purchase things in a meal prepped kind of way needs to be at your, number one on your list.
It's so funny. You're just like the pointers that I had written down. You're just like hammering them out. And so for people who are listening to this, when we do a topic, we don't tell the other person what topic we're going to cover, so that we can keep it really authentic and just like go over genuinely what our thoughts are. That's why we like to do that, to keep it feeling real. So it's cool that you're hitting these points, Kelly, because this is a lot of what I want to dig
Oh,
into.
good. You go.
So I want to start off with one thing you mentioned about how eating right and taking care of our nutrition changes the whole way we feel, and it's massive. It is massive. I think what happens over time is we've all been to that place where we're like, wow, I feel amazing right now. I never want to go back from here. And then inevitably most people will at some point go back from there. And you get kind of the journey in between, from the best you've ever felt to getting to maybe the worst you've ever felt. You don't really realize it happening because it's a slow, slippery slope, right? It's like you don't notice a child getting bigger because you see them every single day. But if you see a child once every couple months, it's shocking. It's the same type of idea. And I think I think that's how it happens, honestly. If it happened in big leaps and bounds, we'd probably be less likely to allow that to happen. But when you get there, you don't really notice, because you kind of forget how good it felt until you get back to that place where it felt amazing.
Mhm.
And it really changes everything. It changes the your outlook on the day. It changes your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, the way that you sleep, the way that you interact with people. All of these things start to intertwine with one another, which is crazy, super interesting.
Mhm.
But so starting with nutrition, I agree. And I love that you said it comes down to meal prep, because it does come down to meal prep. To be successful is almost always going to come down to meal prep. And a lot of people listening are going to say, well, I don't have time to meal prep, which I think for most people is a load of shit. But it might not be a high enough priority, or you might not have your schedule together to make the meal prep happen. And I just want to challenge a little bit here, if you're listening and you're saying I don't have time to meal prep, because I've ordered food just like everybody else. It takes a long time to get that food to your house. Like that food's not getting to your house instantly when you order food. That food doesn't get to your house instantly when you leave. You go pick something up and you drive it home. You have time to meal prep. You might not have time to make a 2-hour roast or something, but you have time to meal prep to some extent. Now, anything you want to add there before I go on?
Yeah, and so when I'm checking in with people in terms of their needs, I often give them the question, do I have the time or the energy? And I ask them to use those two things interchangeably, because sometimes it's one or the other, but sometimes it's both, right? And so when you're saying, I think everyone has the time to meal prep, I think a lot of people will shake their head and say, you know what, I can absolutely see where I could buy back 15 minutes of my time, or, put the screen down for 15 minutes and absolutely meal prep. I think it comes down to energy, right? Because a lot of busy people are going to say, I ordered the meal, but Alex, I didn't sit there and wait for it.
Yeah.
I continued to do the things that I knew needed to get done, which
Yep.
is the reason I ordered in the first place, right? So time and energy are two factors that go hand in hand. But even at that, like, think about how many times you have a conversation with someone for 5 or 10 minutes where you're, sorting out an issue, or you're catching up on your day, you're debriefing together. Maybe it's done in the living room, or it's done in the bedroom. It could have easily been done in the kitchen or at the dining room table while two of you or one of you was chopping up food.
Yeah, of course, of course. And those are really good points. I'm glad that you said that because it is true. Of course, that makes sense. And the catch 22 with the energy thing is as we start eating better, as we start taking care of our health, we get more energy inevitably down the road. But how do we get the ball rolling, right? How do we get to that promised land? So the what I would suggest here is that if and this won't make sense for everybody, but if you have the budget to allow for it, use that budget to your advantage. So Kelly also mentioned this: buying things that are pre-chopped already is a great way to alleviate time. They'll be a little bit more expensive, but if you can build that into your budget, which probably most people listening to this can, because if you order out one less time, that's going to allow you to buy slightly more expensive vegetables. If you take a little bit money out of your entertainment fund, that's going to allow you to buy slightly more convenient foods. And it's whether or not you're willing to make that sacrifice, but we know that change requires sacrifice too. Because there's a lot of great options. You can get spiralized noodles to make pastas with, which are really cheap, easy, convenient. You can get pre-chopped vegetables. I always buy pre-chopped broccoli specifically because I like snacking on broccoli and I want it readily convenient and available for mixing into things. So that's one vegetable I always buy pre-chopped from Costco because it's, to me, it's the difference between me probably consuming it and not consuming it. If I have a big head of broccoli in my fridge, it's like, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But you guys have also heard me say that the way around that is to wash it and chop it and prep it as you bring it into the house. Don't put it in the fridge in a manner that it won't be consumed, like a whole head of broccoli. Make it convenient before you put it into the fridge as soon as you get it home. And you're much, much more likely to consume that. So from a protein standpoint, I think one of the greatest things are those barbecue roasted chickens at grocery stores.
Mm,
They're pre-cooked. That's going to save you a ton of time.
yeah.
Like you can put those in everything. You can put them in salads easily. You can make wraps or sandwiches, or you can just have chicken and your vegetables and your carb, whatever you're having. That is, like, to me, the loophole around waiting 30-35 minutes to cook a protein.
Yeah.
There's options like that if you can build it into your budget, which I think most people will be able to. Now, if budget is a little bit tighter, there's still, or if not, I mean, I do this too. There's lots of options like frozen vegetables, frozen fruit, the chicken that's like already diced and ready to be tossed into things. These are still options. It might not be as tasty, but this doesn't always have to be about optimal taste either.
Mhm. I also want to toss in the idea of delegating, because I know we talk mainly with busy women who tend to believe that everything is their responsibility. So they'll be listening to this and they'll be like, well, I do the grocery shopping. And sometimes that takes, over an hour, depending on where you're living for your commute, how busy the grocery store is, how big your load is for your, the size of your family, et cetera. And so that feels like an event all on its own, right? And,
Totally.
and you're not wrong. But what happens is they also think it's their job to prep it, it's their job to cook it, it's their job, blah, blah, blah. And I think delegation is something that is really overlooked, to say, look, in the rules of this family, maybe I am happy to do the grocery shopping. Maybe I am happy to do the budgeting and the picking out of the food. It is your job as age appropriate children, partner of mine in the house, boarder, whoever it is, to say, chopping it up and prepping it when I come home is on you.
Yeah.
We have to split chores to maintain our own time and energy, and also just healthy responsibility within your family unit.
Yep. Agreed. I love that too. And so this I want to circle back a little bit to the financial side of things because eating healthy can be expensive, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. And it often comes down to sacrifices, and things like delegation are great. So you can also pay for delegation if you have the
Absolutely.
ability to do it. Something like grocery delivery is a way of doing that,
Mhm.
right? You can select it all on your phone, have it delivered right to your door, and you're going to say, Alex, that's crazy. It costs so much money. But it's really interesting because through the peak of COVID, I was doing grocery delivery for all of my groceries, and I was saving money
Mhm.
because I wasn't picking up mindless things, especially at Costco. I do a lot of my grocery shopping at Costco. I was saving, like, each item was exponentially more because of grocery delivery, but by not picking up those one or two random items that you never needed or would normally buy, my bills were coming out less.
Mhm.
And so with some sacrifice, like, you can fit this in. That could save you that hour where you need to work on something where you chose takeout instead. Um, that brings me to takeout as another thing. I'm sure everybody's noticed the cost of food and groceries and takeout, gas, everything is going up. We went out the other day and got like a chicken, rice, and salad lunch, and it was like $17 a person from like a fast food type of joint. Like, that's getting very expensive.
Oh
If
yeah.
you're doing that with two people, $34 is going to buy you a lot of groceries to help make. You could make the exact same thing at home probably multiple times over for that same budget. So there's ways to save the money to make it convenient to make this happen. Another option is to delegate another part of your life that is busy, that's going to free up time to make this happen. So if your kids or your partner or anybody isn't able to help you in the kitchen for whatever reason, you can delegate something like cutting the lawn or cleaning the house. Those are other ways of freeing up time to make this a possibility. I know this isn't rocket science. People aren't going to be listening to this and be like, oh my God, I never thought of that. But it is something you seriously have to consider. If you want to make this a priority, you have to consider these things.
Yeah, and I think when people do get in the habit of being over responsible, it's not that you don't know it. It's you're like, oh, I forgot I was allowed to do that. I forgot I was allowed to ask for help, right? So the reminder is needed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also wanted to mention, and maybe this is on your list somewhere, is not even necessarily batch cooking, but choosing meals that freeze well, right? So we do talk about batch cooking a lot. I think that's great if you have the time and the energy to do that and the space to do it as well, because that's another factor. We made turkey burgers, which we got that recipe from you guys. It makes 8 patties. There's only 2 of us.
Yeah.
Tons of them go into the freezer, and they are, easy to pull out, thaw, and cook in 20 minutes. We have a full burger, and if we're keeping spring mix in the fridge, we've got a burger and salad for
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
that's easy stuff, and for us it's a no-brainer because the freezer is just full of healthy homemade food.
For me, it's chili. I will often make a full slow cooker of chili and not eat any of it. I will
Mm.
freeze it all into individual portions. And as soon as my freezer runs out, I make the next batch so that I know in a pinch, I always have at least one container of chili in there.
Mhm.
Um, all of my days are busy. My evenings are a little bit more free when my family's home. So that's when we'll typically do a more adventurous meal. But like during the day, I'm busy. So my breakfast takes me seconds to throw egg whites and spinach and salsa together. It takes me like probably 2 or 3 minutes to cook that. My smoothie takes a couple minutes to make. That serves me 2 meals during the day. A salad with leftover meat from the night before takes a few minutes to make if your vegetables are already washed, chopped, and prepped. These are all quick solutions, and I do it every single day. Like, it's you have to have your systems down, because to make a salad, if all of your vegetables need to be washed, chopped, and prepped, can take a long time.
Yeah.
If they're ready, it's like minutes.
Hmm.
Minutes.
Yeah, it's neat too, because if they're not prepped for the salad, like you're mentioning, you're looking at a pepper and you're thinking like, okay, well, like, how much do I actually need for this salad? And now you're into decision fatigue, right? And you're slowing yourself down with these decisions. If there's a whole bowl of peppers chopped and cucumbers and whatever you need, scoop, 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 done. Right? Like you're eliminating decision fatigue throughout the day as well, which is going to free up your time and your energy.
Oh, and like omelets, boom, all your vegetables are prepped. Salads, all your vegetables are prepped. Stir
Yeah,
fries, all your vegetables are prepped. Like keep it simple, guys.
right. Love it.
um, okay. So I want to touch a little bit on fitness. It's a lot of the same message, but with fitness, we get into that all or nothing thinking where it's like, I don't have time for those 40-minute workouts or those hour-and-a-half workouts, or to drive to that workout class, do the workout, drive home. Right now, my life isn't allowing for that. Um, to me, the number one thing you can do is just add walking to your routine, and everybody's got time to add walking to their routine. Like you said, if it's probably going to come down to removing some of the screen time, but it could also come down to some of that family time just being while you're walking.
Mhm.
Like get out and walk as a family, and these don't need to be massive walks. This can be 10-15 minute walks, to have a huge impact. But adding walking alone is a huge difference between being completely sedentary.
Mhm.
um what are your thoughts before I move on?
I really like that. I also love, different things like body resistance that you can add in. You don't need any weights. You don't need any kind of, bands or anything like that. You can set a quote unquote rule for yourself, like, each time I go to the washroom, I'm going to do 3 to 5 squats before I sit down or before I sit back down to my desk. There are things that you can just inject or kind of infuse your day with movement. And it doesn't require you to change your outfit. It doesn't require you to get sweaty to have another shower, right? You're saving all of this time, but you've still got over the course of a day, um, little bursts of movement in, keeping your
Yeah.
muscles, keeping yourself literally on your toes.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, make your workout shorter. There's a common belief that like you need a 40-minute workout. You don't. That's not true. You need to move your body and move it regularly. Is a 40-minute workout optimal? It might be for you, but that doesn't mean that a 10 or 15-minute workout isn't still a great option when you're in a pinch. Have those short workouts, those short circuits ready. Those are great things to do right before your shower. When you know that you already are going to have a shower that day, well, go get sweaty for 10 or 15 minutes, have your shower, move on, erase some of the screen time later in the day, and boom, your schedule is right back on track because you only took 10 or 15 minutes to do that. That's an awesome option when you're in a pinch.
Mhm. I was reading something the other day, pardon me, listening to a podcast, and they were talking about imposter syndrome and how people don't feel like they can kind of put one foot in front of the other unless they know everything. They're the
Yeah.
expert on what they're talking about. And this individual just said, as long as you can add something of value, send the message. And so I think about, what you're talking about in terms of movement in your health and fitness journey. You don't have to do the 40-minute expert workout. If
Yeah.
you can do something of value for your body, you've done great.
Yeah.
And that is worth doing.
Yep. One of my favorite workouts and I do this one all the time, when I'm short on time, is cardio, 3 exercises, cardio. So I'll break that down a little bit more. So typically for me, it's a rower because I have an old rower at my house, but it doesn't need to be a rower. This can be a walk, run, a bike ride. It can be anything. So I'll do a couple minutes of cardio, which is kind of your warm up. So you start off at a nice, easy pace till your body gets moving, till you start feeling loose, followed by 3 exercises. My 3 exercises are almost always going to be squats, push-ups, and pull-ups, but they don't need to be for you. They can be any 3 exercises. So you pick 3 exercises that are going to be very compound, full body movements, and you do them in a circuit fashion. So I'll do like 3-2-1 fashion. What that means is like 3 squats, 2 push-ups, 1 pull-up, back and forth for however many sets you have time for. And then I'll finish it with the same form of cardio. And sometimes I allow 20 minutes for this circuit. Sometimes I allow 10 minutes for this circuit. It
Mhm.
just, if I'm doing a 10-minute circuit, I'm going to take shorter breaks, or I'm going to do slightly more reps per set. And it's really like, I'm not trying to set records with this workout. This workout is to take place of nothing. And it's a hell of a lot better than nothing. I'll often, if I'm out and about, do this at a park, a playground, go for a little jog, do it at a playground. Like, you don't need to overcomplicate this.
Cool.
Um, the last thing then that I want to mention is that in order to do this, it has to take some sacrifice. In order to make your health and fitness a priority, it has to take some sacrifice. If you are not willing to make some sacrifices to your normal schedules, routines, and lifestyle, you aren't going to be able to prioritize your health and fitness, unfortunately. It doesn't need to be massive sacrifice though, and I think that's really, really important to understand. You don't need to turn your life upside down. You don't need to become a triathlete that's training 6 hours a day. It's not about that. It's about making some small sacrifices to what your normal schedules and routines are to make it to your goals, or to make it at least closer to your goals. It doesn't have to be big, guys. Like look at your phone, look at the screen time on your phone. If it has more than a half hour of screen time, you've got some wiggle room. I know you got more than a half hour.
I think, you know what, you can even reframe the idea of it being a sacrifice, right? Like, hopefully what people are hearing are little tips and tricks to save your own time or buy back your own time. And you can make those things fun. So if we're talking about meal prep, maybe you listen to your favorite podcast while you're meal prepping. Has
Totally.
any sacrifice really been made at that point?
Hmm.
Maybe not.
Hmm.
If I will not give up my morning coffee with my mom. Everyone knows this at this point. If I'm meal prepping over an intimate conversation with her, have I sacrificed anything? No. Right? If I'm giving up screen time where I don't feel any more fulfilled once I get off of the screen, have I truly
Yeah,
sacrificed anything? So I think, sure, by nature, the word sacrifice means replacing or giving something up in order to do something else. But emotionally, was it a sacrifice?
totally. Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea of having conversations over meal prep or over walking, because they're mindless tasks. Obviously, like trying to have a serious conversation while you're also working is not possible. While you're doing something else that takes a lot of brain capacity, but like to chop a vegetable isn't going to take away from the conversation you're having with someone. So that's really cool. I know I'm a sucker for like all the stupid games on phones. Like
Okay.
if you get rid of those games, you don't like, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I lost my time playing Bejeweled today. Right? like you're never gonna regret losing that time.
Yeah, that's fair. I love it.
Yeah, anything else that you want to add to this?
No, that's a great topic.
So I think the big takeaway is like, you've been there before, you know what it feels like. You've probably said those words, I never want to lose this. This is what I want to feel like forever. And you might not really remember that when you're far, far away from that. But as you get closer, it's going to come back to you. You're going to realize that it is worth some of those small changes, some of those small sacrifices.
Mhm. Excellent.
All right. That's it. What do you got for us? You got a tip?
Yeah, I've got a nutrition tip.
Okay.
So I'm just going to throw it there. Get your healthy fats in. Healthy fats are things that are going to help satiate you throughout the day. So they're going to curb your cravings and keep you from snacking throughout the day.
Mm,
They're not something to avoid, right?
mm.
And they're also
Just like
some.
carbs. Go ahead.
Thank you. And they're also something that's going to help balance our hormones. They naturally do this in our bodies. So infuse your day with them, enjoy them in a really healthy way.
Totally. Yeah, such a great tip. There's none of the macronutrients are enemies, guys. They all have their purpose. There's a bird hanging off the side of my wall right now.
Okay.
It was just hanging off the
Oh,
side of the wall like a squirrel. Yeah, get those fats in, get the carbs in, get the protein in. They all serve their purpose. To me, you should never eliminate one of them. Awesome. Great tip.
that's fun.
And just if anybody listening doesn't really know, like we're talking nuts and seeds and healthy oils and healthy butters and nut oils, nut butters. Like there's lots of different options to get avocados, to get those healthy fats from. Find what you like, find what fits into your routine, and make it work. It's totally worth it. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, like always, take a screenshot, share it to your Instagram. That means a lot to us, and tag us in it so we can see you guys doing that. Thank you for being here.